Campaign against ISIS, 2014-2018. In the chaotic aftermath of the Arab Spring and the collapse of order in Syria and Iraq, a new and terrifying force emerged. ISIS, the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. With brutal efficiency, ISIS swept through vast territories in 2014, capturing Mosul, Iraq's second-largest city, and declaring a so-called caliphate that spanned from Raqqa in Syria to the outskirts of Baghdad. As the world watched in horror, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, saw both a threat and an opportunity. The rise of ISIS posed an existential threat to Iran's regional influence, but it also gave Tehran the justification to expand its military footprint across Iraq and Syria under the guise of combating terrorism. What followed was a coordinated and ruthless campaign by the IRGC to crush ISIS, secure Iran's influence in Iraq, and solidify its dominance in the region. For the IRGC, the fight against ISIS was not just about defeating a terrorist organization. It was about preserving the Shia arc of influence that Iran had meticulously built across the Middle East. ISIS, a radical Sunni jihadist group, posed a direct threat to Iran's allies in Baghdad, Damascus, and Beirut. If left unchecked, ISIS could have destabilized Iraq, toppled Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, and severed Iran's land corridor to Hezbollah in Lebanon. The IRGC was determined not to let that happen. The IRGC's involvement in the campaign against ISIS was spearheaded by its elite Quds force, led by the legendary General Qasem Soleimani. As ISIS advanced toward Baghdad in the summer of 2014, Soleimani personally traveled to Iraq, where he took command of the defense of the capital. His arrival marked a turning point in the fight against ISIS. Soleimani's presence on the front lines was a powerful symbol of Iran's commitment to defending Iraq, and his ability to mobilize and coordinate Shia militias proved decisive in halting ISIS's advance. Iran's strategy in Iraq was twofold: stabilize the Iraqi government and mobilize Shia militias to serve as the backbone of the fight against ISIS. The IRGC had long cultivated ties with Iraq's Shia political elite, and Tehran moved quickly to consolidate its influence over Iraq's government. As ISIS threatened to overrun Baghdad, Iran provided critical military assistance to the beleaguered Iraqi army, including weapons, intelligence, and advisors. But the IRGC's most significant contribution was its ability to mobilize and organize a powerful network of Shia militias under the umbrella of the Popular Mobilization Forces, PMF, also known as Hashd al-Shaabi. The PMF was a coalition of predominantly Shia militias that the IRGC had cultivated over the years, including Kataib Hezbollah, Asaib al-Haq, and the Badr organization. These militias, many of whom had fought U.S. forces during the Iraq War, were battle-hardened and fiercely loyal to Iran. With the backing of the IRGC, the PMF became a formidable fighting force that would play a pivotal role in the campaign against ISIS. The IRGC's support for the PMF went beyond weapons and training. Iranian advisors, many of them veterans of the Iran-Iraq War, embedded themselves with PMF units, providing tactical guidance and operational planning. The IRGC's expertise in asymmetric warfare, honed over decades of conflict, was passed on to the PMF, transforming them into an effective force capable of taking on ISIS in both urban and rural environments. Under Soleimani's leadership, the IRGC coordinated the PMF's operations, ensuring that their actions aligned with Iran's broader strategic objectives. The turning point in the campaign against ISIS came in 2015, when Iranian-backed militias, with support from Iraqi government forces, launched a series of offensives to retake territory from ISIS. The battle for Tikrit, Saddam Hussein's hometown, was a defining moment. Iranian advisors and Shia militias played a central role in the operation, demonstrating the IRGC's ability to lead large-scale military campaigns. The recapture of Tikrit was not just a military victory. It was a political triumph for Iran, showcasing its role as the savior of Iraq and reinforcing its influence over Baghdad. As the campaign against ISIS progressed, the IRGC expanded its footprint in Iraq and Syria. Iranian-backed militias fought alongside Iraqi forces in Mosul, liberating the city from ISIS after a grueling 9-month battle. In Syria, the IRGC deployed thousands of Shia fighters from Hezbollah, the Fatimiyon Division, and the Zainabiyon Brigade to fight alongside Assad's forces, turning the tide of the war in favor of the regime. The IRGC's efforts to crush ISIS were not limited to conventional warfare. Iranian cyber operations targeted ISIS communications and propaganda networks, disrupting their ability to recruit and coordinate attacks. The defeat of ISIS in Mosul and Raqqa in 2017 was hailed as a victory for the international coalition, but for the IRGC, it was a validation of Iran's strategy of using proxy forces to achieve its geopolitical objectives. Iran had not only secured its influence in Iraq, but had also established a lasting military presence in Syria, ensuring that Tehran's land corridor to Hezbollah in Lebanon remained intact. The IRGC's success in defeating ISIS allowed Iran to present itself as the protector of Shia communities and a bulwark against Sunni extremism, further legitimizing its role in the region. However, the IRGC's campaign against ISIS was not without consequences. The rise of the PMF and other Iranian-backed militias created a parallel power structure in Iraq that operated outside the control of the Iraqi government. These militias, armed and trained by the IRGC, became a state within a state, wielding enormous political and military influence. Their presence undermined Iraq's sovereignty and fueled sectarian tensions, creating a volatile environment that could easily be exploited by Iran. Moreover, the IRGC's brutal tactics and sectarian policies alienated many Sunni communities, creating a fertile ground for future insurgencies. While ISIS was defeated militarily, the underlying grievances that fueled its rise remained unresolved. Iran's heavy-handed approach, coupled with the sectarian excesses of its proxy militias, sowed the seeds of future instability that could once again threaten Iraq's fragile stability. For the IRGC, however, the defeat of ISIS was a resounding success. Iran had demonstrated its ability to project power, shape the outcome of a major conflict, and secure its strategic interests in Iraq and Syria. The IRGC's campaign against ISIS was not just about defeating a terrorist organization. It was about reshaping the balance of power in the Middle East and positioning Iran as the dominant force in the region. Through its ruthless and calculated intervention, the IRGC had not only crushed ISIS, but also cemented Iran's status as the undisputed master of the Shia Crescent.